what's up? Let's Go 360. Today I'm here at 7th Gear Exotics. I'm here with Nick, and we're going to be looking at a 2022 Maserati MC20. I'm going to let him explain the car.
So this 22 Maserati MC20, one of Maserati's newer adventures into getting back into the supercar world. 630 horsepower, twin turbo V6, vertical doors, carbon fiber chassis right there. 0 to 60 right around 3 seconds, rear-wheel drive, so it's definitely a fun car. Front end kind of reminds of the Maserati MC12 back in the day, back in the early 2004s, when they were really going racing. But in terms of Maserati being out of the supercar game for 20 years, this is definitely a great example.
Oh, it's beautiful. And do you know what this paint is?
Yeah, so this is factory paint. It's the pearl white paint. It's a $14,000 Maserati option. It kind of has a blue tint to it in the light as well.
Oh, that's beautiful. All right, but yeah, if we can just get in and go for it. I'll stand back here as you start her up for some beautiful sound. And I'll start this guy up too.
It's got good power. It's got really loud turbo noises. Definitely has really big turbos on the car to give you that turbo noise when accelerating. You can feel the boost come in.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't feel underpowered for a V6. I know when this car was kind of in development and it was revealed that it was going to be a V6. You know, most consumers weren't happy, like they're going away from the V8. You know, they were like, the whole point is you're supposed to find your identity with this car and you're moving away from the V8, but, you know, 630 horsepower definitely is not slow, and the V6 does not feel slow whatsoever.
No, it's a lot of power, and I mean, this is, as you say, it's a small, light car. I mean, it's carbon fiber. You know, I like the lines, as well as the MC20, you can see all the carbon fiber. Beautiful.
Yeah. And handling wise, it still does feel a lot like a Ferrari. Going kind of from our Ferraris to this car, kind of driving the two side by side. The handling is really similar. The paddle shifters that are column mounted, so when you turn the wheel, the paddles stay vertical. That way, if you're hand over hand on a racetrack, it's always easy to find where upshift and downshift is. That's kind of a Ferrari staple. So it still does, you know, have its heritage. Does feel a lot like a Ferrari.
And what's the transmission?
So it's a 7-speed dual clutch transmission. Pretty much all modern supercars are dual clutches. That just maximizes their speed. It maximizes the efficiency and also the smoothness of the downshift. It doesn't feel super jerky like the single clutches. Things like our Aventador has a single clutch, and that thing to upshift, you have to actually let off the gas to upshift. Because if you were to, you know, shift like a normal car where you're driving and you upshift on the gas, the whole cabin's just going to be thrown forward, things like that. It's a really aggressive ride. You know, that's I love that car, but yeah, that car is really aggressive. You know, these modern supercars are so smooth. You know, you can upshift, downshift, barely even feel it, and they happen so quick. You know,
like with the transmission, was that also built by Maserati?
That was, yes.
Okay, so
so Maserati definitely built this car. That's kind of the reason why it justifies the price tag. It's definitely an expensive car for what it is. There are some competitors that are a little bit cheaper, but obviously the research and development Maserati had to do is definitely not a cheap thing. So, you know, they could have probably cheaped out, borrowed some parts from other models, or from cheaper brands, which would have obviously cut costs. But, you know, it's kind of their flagship supercar, and maybe, you know, the last one they ever made. They definitely wanted to go all out. As it kind of transitions to hybrid and turbos, and electric cars, things like that, you know. We don't really know if we'll ever see something like this again, maybe in electric form, but this might be the last engine-powered supercar Maserati makes.
That's cool. No, it's a... You know, the cabin here, it's nice. It's not, you know, it's comfortable. Still a little tight. It's definitely not a car for somebody that's probably over... I mean, if you're 6'6" or something, you're not going to fit in here, because I see your seat's about as far back as it can get already. Right. It's definitely not for someone who's tall.
Right. Yeah. You definitely still obviously feel in a supercar. You know, the vertical doors makes it a little hard to get in and out of. and then when actually in the cabin with it small, you know, obviously everything is compressed, everything wants to be driver focused.
It's cool. I mean, it's also very solid.
One of my favorite features on this car is actually right over here on the screen. It actually will show you how much percentage of gas and brake you're using. So that's kind of a cool little track oriented. You can see as I go further on the brake, I'm at 90% brake, or if I let off a little, I'm at 20% brake. That's really good for if you're going to track this car. Obviously, being a supercar, this thing probably sees a lot of track time, and that kind of helps you know where you have to brake, know when you have to brake more, know when you have to brake less, and even with the gas throttle, it'll show you all that. So the screen is configurable. You can obviously change those things, but those are neat things to have on it. Not many cars, even high-performance cars, are showing you the amount of braking you're doing and the amount of gas you're using.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's awesome. And what other features, like, is there like a track mode for this? Is there like economy mode? Is there a way you can set it up?
This is the gear selector right here. So GT is kind of your cruising mode, so that'll be kind of your most comfortable. Then you have sport, and then if you hold it over to the side, you have Corsa, so that's going to be your sportiest mode. Okay. That's going to be where the throttle response is higher. It's going to give you all the power, all the boost, and things like that. And then let's say you wanted to be in the sportiest mode, but the roads are kind of bumpy, so you want to have soft suspension. You'll just press that. You can go into soft suspension with the dampers. It does have active dampers as well, so if it feels like you are on a bumpy road, it'll automatically activate that.
That's really cool. Yeah, this is my first time in a Maserati, so that's why I'm like, is there something about Maserati that's like special just to them? I mean, we've covered a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of features. I don't really think there's anything. Maserati's kind of one of those brands, like I said. I mean, being owned by Ferrari and then Fiat Chrysler, a lot of their identity is kind of Ferrari based. Okay. A lot of it feels like Ferrari, right? This is definitely one of the best driving supercars. Driving things like Lamborghinis and V12 Ferraris, even something like an Audi R8. They're really aggressive. You can't really just have a nice conversation, nice cruise. The car is so loud and everything like that. It makes it kind of hard to speak in. But this car being more on the quiet side, you can have a nice conversation. And you can also just kind of cruise. It's a really great highway cruiser. You don't have to speed everywhere you go, things like that. Just going 40 miles an hour, it's a nice ride even with how low it is and on the type of road we're on.
Oh, yeah. The one thing I always forget is how cool the outside of this car looks. You're kind of sitting here in this nice little comfort cabin, and it's like, forget that the frame on the outside is just absolutely amazing.
Of course, yeah, it gets a lot of attention everywhere. I remember basically a couple hours after we got it, I brought it to a car event, and you don't see really any of them. We went to one of the biggest car events down here, Armature Works, their morning car show, and you see a lot of cool stuff there, but, people are coming up to me like, I haven't seen this Maserati yet, I haven't seen it in person, everything like that, like, this car's so beautiful. You got the people that, they don't know what it is, and, they're shocked when you tell them it's a Maserati, and things like that, and, they see the doors go up, and, the kids are excited to see it, so it's definitely an attention-grabbing car. It's definitely one of those more unique cars. Obviously owning any supercar is a huge achievement, but, being even in downtown Tampa, we see a lot of Lamborghinis, we see a lot of Ferraris, we see a lot of Rolls Royces, but you don't really see many MC20s around anywhere.
No, and I mean, the only time I've seen them was, I think, the Maserati dealership had one. I know Track and Field Motors down south, but they'll maybe just farther down. They had one in their showroom for a little bit. I know the Motor Enclave had a black and blue one. There's but that's like exotic dealership places.
Right, dealerships, and you don't really see them out on the road. You kind of see them parked,
exactly.
Parked in the dealership or on display and things like that. So to kind of see one driving down the road, even me, someone that kind of deals with supercars every day. I've only ever seen 2 MC20s on the road that aren't ours, so they're definitely rare cars to see for sure.
That's what's so cool about them, and that's why I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, because being able to share this with some vets, as you said, you don't normally see them. Nonetheless, be able to actually just sit inside of one.
Absolutely.
So to get this experience, right here, we're passing right there by Raymond James, and I'm gonna stick. I'm not sure if I don't know where the window is. So
right here.
I'm gonna stick this out. The pirate ship is on this back side. I'm not sure if and the giant Go Buck sign is the pirate ship, which has gotten kind of famous with the stadium. So with your name, 7 Gear Exotics, so where did that come from?
So that came from the fact that most modern exotic car brands, so your Lamborghinis, your Porsches, your Ferraris, and your McLarens all have 7 gears.
Okay.
So that was kind of synonymous. Most modern daily drivers will have 8 gears, but the supercars, they kind of limit it to 7. Obviously, the 8th gear adds weight, it adds the gear compression, everything like that. It kills speed, so most supercars limit it to the 7th gear. So that's kind of where it came from. Just kind of, a clever name.
Okay.
We kind of started with Porsches. That's kind of how we started into writing them out. We were running out some Porsches and stuff like that. They obviously had seven gears in it, so that's kind of how the name came about. But yeah, most modern exotics are going to limit themselves to the 7th gear. So it just kind of incorporates all brands. Obviously, some brands have more.
Up there.
Yeah, even
love the sound.
Even quarter throttle, you go that fast and things like that. This car definitely, is for someone who knows how to, handle cars. I mean, full throttle. We have had people, kind of lose the back end, things like that. This car does get a little swirly in the back end on full throttle, but
that's why you got to really make sure that you're straight before you give it some gas.
Straight. Just make sure you can counterbalance the car, things like that. Yeah, this car makes upwards of 24 psi boost, and when you full throttle, you get all of it at once. So
oh, wow.
You got to be able to control it. You're basically going from 20 horsepower to when you full throttle all 630 at once, 24 psi boost. So it is gonna just shoot up, and naturally being rear wheel drive, the back's gonna want to kick out first. So
that's cool. It doesn't have like a launch feature or anything like that.
It does actually. It's right here on the steering wheel. So you could launch the car. This is one of those where they have the car kind of does a pre-check, make sure everything is good to go for a launch. Some cars do, some cars don't. Some cars just let you launch it willy-nilly. This will actually do a pre-check, so it'll check the tire temperatures, make sure the tire temperatures are good. They're not too hot, not too cold. The tire pressure is good. It'll make sure nothing's wrong with the engine or anything like that before it actually lets you go into a launch control.
That's awesome. Is there any way we could do like a pre-launch type thing just to see how it all does that?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
So if you kind of just hit it, it'll do its check. It doesn't really show you anything, but you kind of hit launch, and then it kind of does its little check, and then you hit launch again, and it'll say launch on. So that's kind of its pre-check.
Okay.
And then if everything wasn't right, let's say the car had a check engine light or the tire pressure is too low, when you hit launch, it would say launch failure, please advise, and you would have to go see what is actually wrong with it.
It's amazing how fast those things can go, but you don't realize it.
Right, I was going to say the same thing, with electric cars taking over, it's like, yeah, you'll probably, Tesla, even probably a standard Model S can probably keep up with this, but, you do lose the sound, and for me...
7G, where did this originate from?
So we started in Columbus, Ohio, back in 2020. Like I said, we started off with Porsches. We had one Porsche that we started with, and then obviously from there, you know, they build up. One builds to two, two builds to three, etc., etc.
Oh, yeah.
Our original staff, so our owner and all of the founding members of it, were actually based out in Ohio already.
Okay.
They all lived in Columbus, so, you know, kind of a natural start. They didn't really want to relocate. And, you know, the company obviously failed or everything like that. So they were close to home, and, you know, we tell a lot of people we're from Ohio to start, and they're like, wow, that's a weird place to start. But Ohio is very busy. You know, Ohio is, so we get a nice thumbs up there, you get a lot of attention. But, yeah, Ohio is really busy. You know, people are kind of shocked that it's as busy as Florida, sometimes even more busy than us.